Lesbians need to be picky about where they live. Lesbians are female homosexuals, and although lesbians occupy 1% of the human population, they still need to live in residential areas that are beneficial to lesbians. I am Giselle Wallace, lesbian life coach and author. Here on my YouTube channel, I provide my lesbian perspective, and if that interests you, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like, and share this video. Thank you. Lesbians need to be picky about where they live. I don't believe that lesbians should live with just anybody, nor do I believe that lesbians should just live anywhere. For starters, lesbians are female homosexuals. And we live in a society that likes to marginalize specific groups of people. Usually they're considered to be minorities or women or homosexuals. You follow my drift? And being a woman requires for us to have certain protections and certain securities surrounding our lives, especially when you are a woman who identifies as being a lesbian. Women have a natural instinct and desire and a need to feel safe. And when women are placed in environments and around people who make them feel like they are not valuable or respected, this is how you know that you are in an environment or around people who are not beneficial to your life. Now, you may have never heard a topic like this before. The reason why is because lesbians are often overlooked, and women are often treated as being inferior or indecisive or too emotional. Women are also considered to be irrational in their thinking, and they're viewed as lacking decision-making skills. Women are very intelligent and smart. Now, all women have their own sexual orientation. And there are women who do not have the same experiences. See, we may all be women collectively, but we are not monolithic. We have different upbringings, We have different nationalities, races, skin complexions, different lifestyles, different classes, and again, we have different sexual orientations. Now, this video message is exclusively for lesbians. And the reason why is because this message can't apply to heterosexual women, because the majority of heterosexual women will eventually live with a man or be around men in a residential setting indefinitely. Heterosexual women are exclusively attracted to men. So it makes sense for them to live with men. And when I say live with men, they could live with men who they may be cohabitating with, or they may be married to a man because she's a heterosexual woman. And although heterosexual women also need to be in safe residential environments as well, because she's still a woman, most heterosexual women will feel, in a sense, secure simply because they are with a man, even though some of these men are not safe men. But that's a whole nother story. But heterosexual women, this message doesn't apply to you, but that doesn't mean that you still don't need to be safe and pay attention to your surroundings and where you live as well as a woman. This message is exclusively for lesbians. And in case you're wondering, what about other same-sex attracted women, such as bisexual women, pansexual women, or demisexual women? Definitely listen to this message and apply what can apply to you, because some of you will actually end up getting married to a woman. So this message may apply to you as well. But if you are, of course, dating a man, or if you plan to marry a man, or if you're married to a man, then this message may not really apply to you as a bisexual or a queer woman. And this is why this message is exclusively for lesbians, because lesbians are female homosexuals, and lesbians don't plan to marry men or cohabitate with men because they're romantically and sexually linked to men. Lesbians will date and marry women. And that's why lesbians need to be picky about where they live, because you will be targeted. We live in a very misogynistic, patriarchal, homophobic society, a very sexist society. And if you are a Black lesbian woman, we live in a very racist, prejudice society. So please listen. For anyone who is new to my YouTube channel, my name is Giselle Wallace, and I am a lesbian life coach. I coach same-sex attracted people. Thank you for tuning in today, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like and share this video message, because this allows for other lesbians and same-sex attracted women to be able to benefit from this message, as well as learn about my YouTube channel and subscribe. Thank you. Lesbians, if you are single, this message absolutely applies to you. And lesbians, if you are in a relationship with a woman, whether you're dating her, if you're engaged, or if you're married, or you plan to marry, this message absolutely applies to you. For starters, usually this applies to single lesbians. You may live alone, or you may have a roommate. Some of you may live with your family. Either way, lesbians need to be picky about where they live. And I understand that some of you are in a residential contract. Maybe you're leasing, you're renting, so you just can't up and leave. I understand. And if you have a mortgage, you definitely can't up and leave. I believe when you're renting, it actually is better to rent for the time being if you are a single lesbian. And the reason why I say this is because you don't want to get locked into a mortgage, because a mortgage is really like a permanent residential decision. And I think it's important for single lesbians to have the freedom to be able to get up and go when they want to, because you may decide you don't want to live in this neighborhood anymore because this neighborhood is really homophobic. But if you're stuck in a mortgage, if you've already signed the deed, the contract of investing in a home, you're a homeowner now. You can't just up and leave. The only way you can get out of that deed is if you sell your home. And with the way the economy is on this decline, it's pretty tough out there with trying to sell your home. And then you also don't want to be upside down. So as a single lesbian, it's probably best if you rent. And maybe you live at home with your family. That can be a good choice or option for you as well, depending on your family and how they treat you as a lesbian. So if you are a lesbian who is openly a lesbian, your family knows that you are a lesbian and they're accepting of you, well, then this is a good thing. I think communing with your family, that is completely fine. You get to kind of share the bills, save more money, and you're with your family. But if you are a single lesbian and you are an openly out lesbian and your family knows that you're a lesbian and they are very discriminatory, they don't treat you fairly. They treat the heterosexual people in the family better than you, but you're living with them, and you're living with them because maybe you are not able to afford living on your own. Maybe there's a health reason why you're staying with your family. It could be various reasons why you're staying with your family, but you need to plan to move away from your family if they are mistreating you because you are a lesbian. Doesn't matter how much money you're saving. Doesn't matter that you've known your family all your life and you just can't imagine not being with them. Well, don't misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm not saying for you to cut your family off, but you need to create some distance with your family. Because see, family, they tend to really take advantage of family members who they believe are timid, or they may look at you as being insecure or as if you are a problem. I did a video called Lesbian Shame. And so if you have a family that likes to shame you for being a lesbian and they feel like they have you stuck in a hard place, they know your situation. They know you can't afford to move out. They know that maybe you don't have any friends, or you're just struggling with your health. It could be a plethora of reasons why you're there with your family, and they will use that against you, and they will, in a sense, keep you stuck. And so that's why you have to have an exit plan to get away from that type of environment. Create some distance, because as long as you stay in that toxic family dysfunction, it's not going to improve. It's only going to get worse. And it's not healthy for you mentally, emotionally, physically, or spiritually. And you definitely will suffer when it comes to your relationships with women. If you are in a household with family members who do not accept you as a lesbian, they definitely won't accept your lesbian partner. So make sure you're planning on exiting. And if you need guidance and instruction on how to do so, I am a certified life coach. You can reach out to me. My contact information is here on YouTube in the description box. You can also go to my website, www.gisellewallace.com. Now, if you are a single lesbian and you're living by yourself, that is actually the best place to be in. Literally and figuratively. Like, you have your own home. You have your own. And when I say home, I don't mean like you have a literal house where you have a mortgage. Because if you're a single lesbian, I believe it's best that you rent, because you can get up and go when you want to. There's so many different lease agreements. You can live month to month where you don't sign a lease, or you can sign, I think at minimum there's leases as early as only 3 months. Like, you can sign a 3-month lease, a 6-month lease. Some places have 8 months, 10 months, 12 months, and so on and so on. So you have the flexibility to choose what kind of lease you want to sign on. And then when you're ready to go, you can go. Because here's what happens as a lesbian. You'll be in a neighborhood, right? And people are people. They're going to people watch. Nothing wrong with that. But it starts to get weird when people seem to always keep showing up when you walk out the house. Like the same person keeps showing up, and they always seem to just be there when you coming out the house. It gets a little weird. Or, this is something that I always, observed. When you, for example, you have an apartment and you're getting, maybe you just drove up and you're getting out of your car, and there's these guys, they're just sitting outside, for example, and they're just watching you, everything you do. Like, they watch you get out the car. Maybe you came from the store and you had these groceries and you're trying to carry them into your apartment. And this is what I recommend. If you are by yourself as a lesbian, don't ever choose an apartment on the first floor. Always choose second level or above. I never stay on the first floor. As a woman, I don't think it's safe, because you have more access to a person breaking into your apartment because you're just right there on the first level. And I also recommend you staying in a gated community. Like, you have to have a PIN code, some type of gate code to get in. Like, there's a lot of places you live, it's not gated. Anybody rolls up in there any time of the day, any time of hours. Now, of course, there's rules and regulations that are there in the complex, but sometimes people wait till after the leasing office closes, and then they just go bar none. They just go crazy. I remember seeing that. Like, I remember I would just drive to certain neighborhoods and I would see people just hanging out. It was like a block party almost after hours. And I said, this absolutely is not right. But when you drive through that same, neighborhood or apartment complex during business hours, it's like everybody is inside. It's like nothing going on. So that's what I mean by people usually will wait till after the leasing hours and they'll start coming out, the woodwork and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So you want to kind of go, here's what I learned and what I used to do. I learned to go at night. Like if you're planning to move somewhere, go at nighttime and check out the scenery, because that's when you see all the real action. Don't go during the business hours because people are going to be on their best behavior. Go at night, and that's when you really see how people are acting in the neighborhood, in the apartment complex, the condo, wherever you decide to go. And you can even do this when you're ready to go and buy a home, build a home. Do the same thing. Go at night. All right, ladies, I'm giving you some really great tips. And when you, just going back to my story of an example, you're a single lesbian, you rolled up to your apartment, you got to get the groceries out your car, and you kind of dread getting out of the car because when you're driving, you see all these guys hanging out and they're just looking at you and you're just like, oh my God. And then when you get out the car, you pop your trunk, here you go trying to pull your groceries out, and you just dread to look around because you could just feel their eyes just piercing on you. And then one of them may holler out and say, hey, you need some help. And you act like you can't hear them. You ignore them. You just try to walk fast and run upstairs. And this is the part that really always would get me when something like this would happen. They would be watching you go to your apartment. So they knew where you lived. So that would freak you out. And, I don't recommend letting a man bring your groceries in or whatever. Honestly, ladies, as a single lesbian, just be like, no, thank you. I appreciate you. Be kind, be courteous. But I don't think you should do it, because sometimes men will do that because that's their way of trying to get your number. They may even want to get in your house. Never invite a man in your house. Like he'll use the excuse, oh, I just help you with your groceries in your house. Don't let him do that. Don't let him walk in your house, because men, they scoop things out. And you don't know who these men are. You don't know their background. You don't know what their intentions are. So just avoid men at all costs as lesbians. So we naturally will do that anyway, but sometimes men will be very assertive and they'll put themselves in your way. So you got to kind of know what to do. So if you are in that kind of environment where you're in an apartment complex or somewhat, and there's nothing but men and they're checking you out, you're a lesbian. Some of them may know you're a lesbian. Some of them may not. But you just want to be safe and you want to protect yourself. If you're around a neighborhood, and when I say neighborhood simply meaning a community of people, no matter what the setting is, no matter what the living arrangement is, if it's an apartment, if it's a condo, if it's a house, if you don't like the people that are around you, if they are always trying to get up in your face and you really don't want to be bothered, imagine being stuck in a mortgage, a house, and you can't just up and move. So that's why I say, as a single lesbian, you want to just rent. Because if you need to move out, you'll be like, okay, I only got 4 more months left. I'm going to move. If it's dangerous for you, if you don't feel safe, then you do need to report it to the leasing office, to management. You may want to invest in an alarm system, ladies. Get you an alarm system. Make sure that you keep certain protections on you. It could be mace. It could be a pocket knife. It could be you carrying. Make sure you pay attention to the laws in your state so you know what to do. But do what you have to do. Practice always keeping your head on a swivel. Look around. Pay attention to your surroundings at all times. Don't get distracted by your cell phone. Don't have your music so loud that you can't hear what's going on around you. You just be mindful and always pay attention. Always be alert. And if you run into consistent issues with your neighbors, whether it's men or women, then you can, of course, always be cordial. But if they act like they don't get the point, that you don't want to be bothered, and they continue to, and it becomes harassment when people are constantly trying to edge their way into your life. Like there's a difference from a person just speaking to you casually, like good morning, and you just hi and bye. That's not an issue. But I mean, when they come in your space, for example, every time you walk out the house, every time you get out of your car, they're right there. It's like they come up to you. We have personal space, ladies. Like if somebody's violating your personal space, that's harassment. You have the right to say, can you please not come up to me like that? Especially when you don't even see them coming up on you. That's dangerous. I remember one time I had my window rolled down, and I have covered parking wherever I move, but I was parked, and it was in my covered parking, right? And I had my window like halfway down, and I had my music on. Now the music wasn't blaring necessarily, but I have a good decent sound system, so with my window down, you're gonna hear it. And out of nowhere, it was this woman came up. Listen, y'all, I had a Karen moment. If y'all know what I'm talking about, Karen moment. No hate on the Caucasian women, but it was a Caucasian woman who did a Karen on me. She snuck up on me and she said, "Do you live here?" Y'all, that startled me so bad. I mean, it startled me so bad. I was so angry, y'all. I was so angry that she did that. I immediately rolled my window up and I told her, back up. She could read my lips. I said, back up. Because first of all, that's violating your personal space. You don't come up on somebody's car like that, for one. And if their window is down, you don't do that. But that's what she did. I said, I live here. This is my parking spot. I said, don't you ever come up to me like that again. And she didn't do that anymore. But that's where you have to put your foot down and be firm with people when they're violating your space. Now, if they continue to violate your space like that, then you need to report what's happening. Now, fortunately, I never had any more issues with her and everything was fine. But this is what you can go through when you live around people. And that's why you have to be careful about where you choose to live. Lesbians especially need to be careful where you live. You absolutely need to be picky about where you live. And this is another reason why I usually will advocate for lesbians not telling people that they're lesbian. Not because we're ashamed of being lesbian, but because it's for your protection, it's for your safety. It's like you're already a woman, and if people see you by yourself, or maybe they see you with a woman all the time, and that is your lesbian partner. So they see you and they kind of pick up, oh, I think they together, they lesbians. You know, people are really nosy and they're watching you all the time, and they can get in your space, and you have to put your foot down. And you don't have to let anybody know your relationship status. I did a video, and it's called The Untold Truth of Lesbians. And I discuss how in most cases you will not know that a lesbian is in a relationship or if she's single, because we don't disclose certain details about our lives, because we like to have peace of mind. We like our safety. You need to create a safety net for yourself, lesbians. And you don't have to tell people you're lesbian. And now some people will be bold enough to ask you, are you gay? Is that your girlfriend? Now, that's up to you how you handle that conversation. But honestly, that's none of their business. And if you do say to them it's none of their business, well, you're well within your rights. I mean, think about it. Can you imagine you just going up to somebody you don't know just because y'all live in the same apartment complex or in the same condo, or you maybe you got a house and you live on the same street? Can you imagine you just going up to somebody saying, are you straight? Or are you gay? Is this your husband or is this your wife? Who are these people? That's you are in violation. That's none of your business. So this is why it's so important for you to be picky about where you live, lesbians. So whether you're single or if you're in a relationship with a woman, and that could be you could be dating, you could be engaged, you could be married. Now, it gets different when you get to the point where you're engaged or when you're married. This is where you make more solidified residential decisions. So you start maybe thinking about investing in a condominium, or you invest in a new home. Maybe you want to build your home from the ground up, or you just choose a home in a new neighborhood, or maybe you just choose a home that's already in a neighborhood and you want to just flip the house. You want to just redesign the house. Whatever you decide between you and your lesbian partner, you're making a very serious permanent decision about where you're going to live now. You want to pay attention to what state you live in. You want to know the laws. And I mean, like, of course, on the federal level, of course, know the laws. But you need to learn the laws on a state level and a local level. And here's why, lesbians. Because we are in a time where we don't know whether or not same-sex marriage will remain legal in the United States of America. We don't know that because laws are changing rampantly. Things are so unexpected now. And we are under the Donald Trump presidential administration, and things are very uncertain. We're living in uncertain times. So you want to know the laws. You want to know what rights you have as a lesbian or a same-sex attracted woman. So where you live is crucial to how your life will be affected. If you are in a state that does not, is very conservative, maybe very religious, does not support same-sex attracted people, that may not be the best choice for you to make to go live there. But what if you're already living there? What if you've already invested in your home? Well, you know what you can handle and what you can't handle. You and your fiancé, you and your wife as a lesbian couple or same-sex attracted couple, because some of you will be bisexual women, pansexual women, demisexual women in relationships with women, and you've already invested in a home together. So between you and your partner, you'll have to decide, do we really want to stay here? Do we want to raise our children here? Because you may be planning to have children, or you may already have children. Do we like the schools? Do we want our children to be in these schools? Do we like the community as a whole? Do we like, maybe you want to go to church. Do we want to go to church here? Because if you go to a church, and I call them, they're traditional churches, I call them heterosexual churches. Like, if they're not welcoming to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and LGBTQ plus people. And what if there's not too many churches? What if there's no welcoming churches? Actually, they're called inclusive churches. What if they're not in your area? You have to consider all of that. So it's important where you decide to stay. And if you and your wife decide, well, I don't feel safe here, I'm not happy here anymore, then you can plan to move. So you start putting your house up for sale. And hopefully you will sell the home. But let's be honest, what if you don't sell your home? What do you do then? Well, fortunately, most of us as lesbians and same-sex attracted people have grown accustomed to the discrimination and the homophobia and the biphobia and the prejudice and the transphobia. Like, not saying that this is healthy, but we've learned how to work around it. It's actually toughened us up. It's made us to be stronger. And so you just have to do the best you can while you are in that residence. Sometimes you may want to take vacations to areas where you really want to live. Like, just go somewhere where you really want to live, you and your wife on vacation. That will relieve you and get your mind off things. Invest in being involved in events and programs, conferences that are focused on the lesbian community. Hire therapists, hire a life coach, and make sure that they are supportive of the LGBTQIA plus community. And just really do things that you enjoy. Like, make an effort to do what you can to relieve you of a lot of the anxiety and the stress that you may face when we're dealing with people who are not accepting, when we're dealing with people who are closed-minded. And don't ever forget that as a homeowner, you have rights. Maybe you have HOA access, and you can speak to people in positions of leadership and let them know, like, go to even community meetings. And that's why it's important to know your rights and what's going on politically, locally. Go to community meetings. These are political meetings, community meetings, so you can learn more about your environment, and you can speak up and you can voice your concerns or give them ideas on how they can help make the neighborhood more inclusive of lesbians and the LGBTQIA plus community. So you have those things to consider, and just always keep in mind that you are a priority, and your relationship with yourself, and if you are in a lesbian relationship or same-sex attractive partnership between women, they are priority. they come first before anything else. So whatever is going on outside of you, don't let that be such a distraction or a burden to the point where it starts impacting your mental health, to where you're neglecting yourself and you're feeling bad about who you are. And then if you're in a relationship, then your relationship is suffering from what you're allowing to affect you, to the point where you're no longer focused on your relationship. So spend quality time together. If you're single, you can spend quality time with other lesbians, make new friends, get involved, be proactive about your life. And even when you're in a relationship, if you're dating, engaged, or married, relationships between women, still go out and meet other lesbians who are like-minded, who are married. So these are ways that we can stay connected. And I am actually the founder and instructor of Giselle Wallace Lesbian Academy. I will provide courses and classes that are designed exclusively for lesbians, for situations that we go through that other people don't experience. We need to discuss topics such as this that I'm bringing up. Like I say, you probably never heard anyone talk about it, but I'm addressing it here. And I plan in the near future to make a class about this, so we can talk about where we live, where we stay, how we commune, how we reside as lesbians. And I encourage you to register at Giselle Wallace Lesbian Academy. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, then please subscribe, because in the near future, I will have memberships through Giselle Wallace Lesbian Academy, and I want you to stay posted and stay aware. So make sure you subscribe and register at Giselle Wallace Lesbian Academy. My contact information is here on YouTube in the description box. Thank you for listening. I cannot stress it enough. Lesbians, you need to be very picky about where you live, because your safety and your comfort is priority.